It wouldn't like, I wouldn't be like hurt by it, but it's just like, I don't collect any ads. I don't know why they do it. And I don't swear on it either, so.
So much.
Usually with the educational ones, they just kind of like leave them be.
Well,
So. All right. Okay, today, let's walk through the basic problems that we have here. All right, here we go. Okay, so first and foremost here, with the project we were working on yesterday, we were looking at how to read a meter. So this was section 4.4. It was a part of mortgages, but it was about the meter and how you actually read it. So that means that could be for gas, it could be a meter for water, it could be a meter for really anything. So I want to make sure that you guys understand like the process, what they could look like. We'll walk through like the analog version where they have a little spin wheel thing, and then we'll also walk through instead of spin wheel, like the digital reader and how you're supposed to attempt this problem, because there's like 3 basic problems I'm going to assign you. Okay? The first one is really basic. They give you the analog version, you have to tell me the number that's on the analog. So for reading a meter, usually meters have 4 dials, like that. And the arrow faces a very, very certain direction. Okay? So this is how it usually works. It goes 1, 2, and it goes up to 9, blah, 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 blah. There's 9, here's 1, 2, 3, you get the idea. Here's 0, then the numbers go the opposite way, up through 9. You guys get the idea. Okay. The next dial goes the opposite direction, so this is 0, goes 1, 2, 3, and it goes up through 9. And then the last one, it goes the opposite direction, 1, 2, 3, and it goes up through 9. Okay, so here's the idea. They always go the opposite directions. How I know which way they spin, usually like the meters themselves, you can kind of watch them long enough, you can see where the hands are spinning. They always go the opposite direction. We talked about that yesterday, because it's to prevent that you can tamper with it. Because if you try to like wind it back a little bit, it strips all the gears out and then they don't work anymore. They're pretty cleverly made. But how you're actually supposed to read it is whatever number you just passed. Not what number you're heading towards, but the number you passed. So like for instance, I'll kind of draw a couple different ones here. Let's see. Okay, so let's say this is my meter. Okay? To read that meter, you start on the left side, go to the right, and you have to look at the number that it just passed. Not that what it's going towards, but what it just went past. So, on this one, what number did I just pass?
1.
The number 1. It didn't quite make it to 2 yet, so you got to put a 1 there. This one, it made it to actually 3. This one, it's not quite to 9, so it's probably 8. And then this one, we just passed 2, so you break 2. That's the meter. That's just how you read it. It's very straightforward. If it's a analog or a digital meter, because I know they have some where they have like flipping tiles kind of a thing where it rotates. And so let's say that this is what it has. And let's say this is what we have. Okay? To read that meter, because again, you have to look at where the center is. And you have to see what did you pass. Well, the idea is that I passed the number 8. It's not quite to 9 yet. I passed the number 1, but I'm not quite to 2 because it's rotating. This one's rotating. I just passed the number 3. I wasn't quite to 4 yet. And this one, I'm not quite to 4. I'm at 3 again. So that's how you read it. You have to look at where the numbers are and which way it's rotating. If it didn't make it to the next number, you have to read the previous number that you're sitting at. Okay? Now, why this is important? Because once you have your meter, okay, perfect. Okay, perfect. All right. Once you have your meter and you've actually read it off, then you can actually subtract and see how much of the actual item you used. So here's the idea. Let's say that this was the first meter you had. This was later in the year. and you want to know how much of the gas or water or whatever like form that you had, how much did you actually use? Okay? Oh, okay, get off the computer, thanks. All right, so if you want to figure out how much you actually use, you have to subtract the later date. So maybe this is like December that year, and this was January. They're going to subtract the two from each other and figure out the total. So, for instance, what is that number? That's my later date is 8133, and I'm going to subtract the earlier month like that. So I'm subtracting them to figure out the difference that I actually used. So when I subtract, the top number has to be bigger than the bottom, so that's a 1. I can't do this, I'm going to borrow. Make that a 13 minus 8 is 5. 0 minus 3 I can't do, I'm going to borrow, make that a 7, that's a 10. 10 minus 3 is 7. 7 minus 1 is 6. There's how much you used. I used 6,751 units. It could be cubic feet, it's whatever the meter reads in. Usually they have it marked, like yesterday the pictures I showed you, it was for gas, it was like cubic feet of gas. Now, why that's important. This is what your first assignment is. They're going to have your read meters. Second assignment. Okay? All right. You got to pass it. Perfect. Just leave it back there. I'll grab it here in a minute. Perfect. Thank you. The second part of the assignment says, hey, you need to go find how much you used from like December to, or January to February. Like it's going to have you subtract the two numbers. Here it is. But then they also say in the instructions, hey, now that you know how many cubic feet of gas you used, it costs 17 cents a cubic foot. So 17 cents. So now you have to take this number, whatever you found how much you used, and take it times 17 cents. 17 cents is that. And this will tell you what your total bill is at the end of the maybe end of the year for gas or water. It just depends on how expensive it is. So let me do the number here. What do we got? We got 6,751. And we're going to take it times 17 cents. It's $1,000 worth of gas. So $1,147.67. And maybe that was the year in total in gas that you just purchased.
That's per year?
Let's say that's a per year. I mean, if you're in a house in Clear Lake and you buy one of those big Victorian homes, that could be a month. Like those big homes, like right in the middle of town, by the library and by the seawall kind of area, those really big ones. They can easily go through $1,000 trying to keep that thing up. Yeah. Oh yeah. That's by the way. That in those big homes, you're paying more for gas and electricity to heat the place than you are paying rent. It's guaranteed, or the mortgage. So like you have to like figure a bigger home like that. It takes a lot of money to like operate that home. Now don't get me wrong. They're pretty. They're beautiful. Everyone kind of wants them, but it's really hard to sustain them. That's why they're on the market a lot for sale. It's just impossible to heat them because of that. But yeah, that's what I want you to be able to do. Subtract the numbers and being able to multiply by whatever the price is. This works for water. Sometimes your water's based on a meter just like that. It could be the gas itself. So just make sure that you're comfortable with how to do that. Is there any questions on how to read meters or how to actually figure out the price you're paying for the actual gas itself? Perfect. Okay. Yes.
Is it always gonna be 17 cents?
No, they're going to change it. So there's two separate programs they have. One of them's like very cheap. The other one's really expensive because it depends on how much you use. And they want to show you the difference. Like I think one of the examples is gas, like this, where it's cheap, like 17 cents. One of them was water, and it was like $3 for every cubic foot of water, or something like that you're using. Okay. All right. So let's do another one. Let's do one where it's maybe more expensive. Let's get to like one where it's like $3. And we'll kind of walk you through it here. Okay. Questions so far on the setup? Perfect. Let's do one more. Let's do another one here, and then we can get to it. I'm not going to put the meters up here. I think you guys get the idea of how to read them. It's whatever number you passed. But let's go to the next example here. So I'm going to just give a couple months here, and then we'll kind of look at an example of this item here. Okay. All right. So let's say this is January, this is February, this is March. Okay. So let's say these are the first 3 months. The first month you used maybe 152 units worth of water. The next month, the chart, what it says on the dial, it says that you had 478 units used. The next month, you're at 650 units. Okay? And that's each month, it just keeps dialing up. Eventually it'll do a rollover. Sorry, I forgot the fourth number. That fourth month, maybe it has, the next one maybe you're in the thousands, and then it just kind of goes up, and once it gets to 9, it rolls back to 0 again. It just kind of rolls back to whatever you need it to. But you have to compare what the previous month was. So let's say I want to figure out how much water you're using between this month. Okay? And let's say the water for this, for every unit, let's say that it's a little more expensive than 17 cents. Let's say it's 68 cents a cubic foot of water, whatever it is. And these are the units that your meter is reading. So it's 68 cents a cubic foot. So the idea is what you have to do first, take the later month, 650, subtract the 478, and again, if you have a calculator, just subtract the calculator, figure out what the difference is, how much you're actually using. So 650, we're going to subtract the 478, used 172 units worth of water. That's cubic feet, let's say, of water. That depends on how many gallons you're using, basically. Every cubic foot of water is about 7.5 gallons of water. That's just a rough number. So I'm using a lot of gallons of water. And we're going to take that cubic feet, and they tell me the price is 68 cents per cubic foot. So I just paid for a water bill. If I take my 172 units times 68 cents, my water bill that month is $116.96. Now, most people's water bill is not that high. Mine, per month is about $30, $40. But I don't have a sprinkler system, out in front of my lawn. My son takes pretty long showers, but we even have washer and dryer. We have the dishwasher itself. It doesn't use that much water. They're energy efficient. All the appliances in our house are energy efficient, water efficient. But if you have a sprinkler system, you can easily burn that. I had a problem a couple of years ago with this little kid that would walk by my house and turn on the water. Because the water spigot's right on the sidewalk. So I had to take the handle off. So he couldn't do it anymore. But he walked by and he just thought it was funny. He was really young, turn on the water as he walked by. And then I get home from school and water's been running for 8 hours outside my house. Yeah. Let's just say I caught the kid and he doesn't walk by my house anymore. So.
Did you yell at him?
Oh, I scared the crap out of him.
What did you do?
Right when I saw him turn it on, I basically blitzed him and I got right in his face. And he's like a 5-year-old kid. I'm like, you're not walking by this house again. And he was like scared crapless. I'm like, because he just cost me $100 and some worth of water that month.
You should.
So, he doesn't walk by the house anymore. He walks around the block. But then all I had to do all I did was remove the handle. Doesn't matter. Kid knew what he was doing. I was going to talk to his parents next because they were going to pay me $100.
Or do you
Did
put
they?
like electric cars on?
I was tempted to put like a laxative on the handle, so he'd have a problem with bowel movements. But I didn't. So because that's considered an assault, so I can't do that. But can I have a talk?
You know, electric cars would have been pretty funny.
Did you talk to his parents again?
Nope. He doesn't walk around. It was a few years ago. Okay. All right. But hey, that's a practicality that you have to think about. Water costs money. Gas costs a lot more money than water does because you use a lot more gas sometimes heating a house. Water, pretty cheap. I think gas kind of fluctuates in price, so you got to be worried about, especially if you're on a farm. If you're buying an acreage, you have LP. You really have to worry about LP. You can go through propane and LP pretty quick. It costs a lot to fill those tanks. That is not cheap. You have to prepare yourself if you live on an acreage to fill those tanks a lot. Okay, it depends on the size of the tank too. Okay, all right. Okay. So, here's your homework today. This will be due on Monday, but I'm betting on you'll probably get it done pretty easy. Okay, here we go. It is page 95, number 1 through 5, number 8, and exercise A.
That's it?
Page 97, nope. 97, 1 through 4, exercise B and C. So, you'll need a calculator. You're going to do some simple calculations. I think it's pretty easy. Okay.
Can we use your calculators?
Yeah. By all means. So, the first one is just meter reading. Just read what the meter is, just say the number, go on to the next ones. These two assignments is B and C, by the way. These are where you have to calculate water and the price of gas. They have two. Read the directions because they tell you the price per unit you're using. What? Monday, it's due Monday. Yep. You'll probably get it done. It's almost guaranteed you will.
Hey, Ward.
What's up?
Can I read my notebook?
Yes, amazing. So due Monday, make sure you have your book. If you need to borrow one, I think I got one or two. So, if you need one.
Okay, I'll just take one right here.
I'm gonna start calling you Gina.
Yes.
Wait, how's it going?
Okay. What? I don't care. I think it's funny.
Were you gone the last 2 days or just the last day? Last 2 days. Okay, I'm gonna leave the examples on the board so you can kind of look at them.
Gina, give me my notebook.